It's Monday, July 1st, and Andrea Jensen-Bergen as a guest host for the rest of this week while Ian Burns is off on holidays. Lots to talk about today on The Really Big Show. I'm Jim Jeck with NowMedia. Mark Carney needs a win, and soon. The clock is ticking on the trade deal. Money is fleeing Canada. Housing not that easy to fix. And over 200 candidates in the by-election where Pierre Poilievre is running. That's a lot of candidates, eh?
Yeah, just a few.
And they're probably going to be more before it's done.
Yeah, we're 109 more than the last election.
Well, they're trying to set a record.
I think the record has been set.
Kind of crazy. The trade thing is the big thing, though. And then we're going to listen to Howard Lutnick here talk about the trade deal here. He's on Face the Nation in the U.S.
the U.S. Commerce Secretary.
Yeah. Let's play this clip.
Let's talk about Canada, one of the big ones. Their prime minister said this past week there's not a lot of evidence they can get a trade deal with the U.S. that avoids tariffs. Is your message to Canada, Mr. Secretary, that no matter what they offer at the negotiating table, free trade's gone, there will be a tariff in place?
No, see, that's silly. We have a plan called USMCA, U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Virtually 75% of all goods coming from Mexico and Canada already come in tariff-free. The president said, look, unless you stop this fentanyl and close the border, we're just going to keep tariffs on the other 25%. And that's what he has on. So don't be confused about it. The president understands that we need to open the markets. Canada is not open to us. They need to open their market. Unless they're willing to open their market, they're going to pay a tariff. That's a simple message the president has. It's fair trade. It's reciprocal trade. Why should we have our country be wide open while theirs is closed? This is an 80-year wrong that President Trump is trying to fix. And our businesses are going to really, really enjoy it. I think the president's going to open.
There you go. You can go on Face the Nation and watch that full clip, though. But basically, he's saying everything in the USMCA is already covered, and the other 25% is what's up for debate there. And then there is the additional tariffs on steel and aluminum.
What do you think 50%. He's saying when he wants us to open our markets?
Well, that would be, I'm sure, talking about the dairy supply management thing right there. So that's the big thing. And the other big thing that Carney needs to get, he needs to get a win right now. Like, he needs to get some type of win in that is in Bill C-5 there. Like, I mean, he has this bill that's passed. You can go on to the next slide there. And he needs something like right away. And they have that meeting. He had that meeting with First Nations, and now there's the Premier's meeting going on. But where's the win? Where's the actual list of projects? Because in that First Nations meeting he talked about how we're meeting to discuss lists, to bring things forward, but nothing concrete, right?
No, nothing concrete yet. And they have put out a report they're speaking about for Bill C-5. It was quite interesting because they are saying that they should push through 2 LNG projects and that those 2 projects should be on the list. But we still don't have a list of these projects.
But we need a win. He needs to win in the worst way. And again, they're meeting, I think it's a 3-day meeting here for the Premier's meeting.
Yeah, they're holding it in cottage country.
Well, tough slugging, eh?
Yeah, tough slugging for the bureaucrats.
They're first going to meet, and this is the Premier's to meet with the Indigenous groups on the first of the 3-day Ontario gathering. And they're talking, obviously, the trade tariffs and stuff like that. And the list. And Danielle Smith has a list. Scott Moe has a list. Where's Mark Carney's list? I guess that's the big question, right? Where's the list?
Well, we got a week left. Let's see how things go.
Scott Moe says elbows up is not the right approach to U.S. President Trump, and they are our largest trading partner and probably will be, and also our greatest ally. And they did come to our rescue twice just last week there at British Columbia. They came to the rescue with the fighter jet that came for that hijacked plane, and also they came to the rescue of that young lady, the 10-year-old Charlene Pollock, when the 13 American doctors said, hey, BC, give her the medication.
Yeah, and I think geographically we're not escaping the United States, so let's make a deal that benefits
I don't think
Canada.
we can move, right?
No.
That was like when Quebec was going to separate from the U.S. or separate from Canada way back when, and the Newfoundlanders were happy about that because they said if the Quebec separates, Toronto will only be an hour away. But lo and behold, Newfoundlanders were wrong, or the Quebec didn't leave, so Newfoundlanders still had to have that long flight or car ride. Pierre Poilievre highlights something here that we've talked about in this show a bit. Capital continues to flee Canada. And that's the big thing, that's the really big trouble. In May alone, $16.2 billion in capital fled Canada. And then over the last 4 months, nearly $84 billion. It comes down to math, and this is the thing. Even Mark Carney, his company Brookfield, left for the U.S. And Mark Carney's investments are like 93% plus in the United States. And not only are we losing capital, we're losing the brightest and the smartest minds, right? It all comes down to math, right? And that's the big thing. Unless you give it incentive.
Well, yeah, unless we adjust our taxes and regulations, we're just going to continue seeing this trend. Especially
when the American president says, come to the United States, I will cut the regulation, I will speed up your permitting time, and you will have less taxation and no tariffs.
Well, he's been delivering so far, so...
Here's one that the Auditor General is actually going to do an audit of the International Student Program. I wonder what she's going to uncover there. It's going to be a lot of couched things. She's going to say, well, this is probably a bad idea, because we've seen what this International Student Program's done to our colleges, our universities, the job market.
Well, it created a bit of a bubble, and now I think that bubble's bursting.
That bubble is bursting. Now people are screaming for that kind of stuff too. And then this is the Holiday Home Blacklock story. New rental construction remains slow despite multi-billion-dollar tax holidays for builders, and that was the GST holiday, and that's according to new CMHC data. Housing Minister, that was the old Housing Minister, Sean Fraser, who's now in charge of Justice, predicted tax break would have a major impact, but not so much. The short-term sentiment has worsened significantly, with 42% of developers expressing pessimism. That's what the analyst said in the Housing Observer report on Friday. Developers say while interest rates are easing, construction growth is slowing, costs remain high, and financial viability continues to be a challenge by a forecast of softening revenues, development and fees and tariffs. Access to financing is a critical factor.
As far as builders go, only 29% are confident in the short-term rental market now.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, and that's what we just talked about in Pierre Poilievre's thing.
International students leaving, I think a lot of those short-term rentals.
The capital is fleeing, and it's, when you invest a lot of capital, you want certainty, and that's what's not being offered up right now, is certainty, right?
Well, with this trade deal circulating, there's no real certainty at all for Canada.
And then Pierre Poilievre again says, a quick fix. It took the Liberals 10 years to double housing costs. Now the Liberal housing minister, who was the mayor that gave Vancouver the worst housing costs in North America, says people should just wait. Our youth can't wait. Cut taxes, cut red tape, cut immigration. A lot of the cost in housing is in the development costs charges, the taxes, all the...
Getting through the bureaucracy, getting the right permits.
We talked about it here in Kelowna. We did a story, and it was a year and a half to get a permit to build a single-family home here in Kelowna. More and more, we're seeing the DCCs are a big part of it.
What's a DCC?
Development cost charges.
Oh, there we go. I don't know my acronyms.
There you go. And this is another one has to do with the immigration policies. And this is a restaurateur. It says many restaurants warn they may be forced to close to the new federal rules that reduce temporary foreign worker permits from 2 years to 1 and cut staff from 20 to 10%. One operator says he's losing most of his kitchen staff by the end of the year. But it raises a broader question. Do we simply have too many restaurants, or are they not paying enough to attract local talent?
As someone who worked in the restaurant industry for 15 years, I think this is a multifaceted problem. We don't see people shopping local, we see them going to big chains. And another thing is regulations. When the COVID pandemic was decimating that industry, I was working in Toronto, and they brought that whole plastic straw thing in, and the plastic packaging. So then these restaurants that are already struggling had to pay exorbitant amounts more to send people home with food in a time when people are taking more food to go, because you're getting these paper products and stuff that come in plastic.
Yeah, and also the industry's really become reliant on cheap labor. And that's the other big problem. And then there's some critics out there now that say it's just modern day slavery. And you're relying on cheap labor, so that you're not paying fairly to keep Canadians working.
Well, and food costs have gone up too. But
And
yeah,
then-
who can live on a chef's? You used to work in kitchens. Could you
did.
live on that anymore?
I could back then. You could eat all you want to. But not anymore, I doubt. It's been a while for me.
Still good at making eggs.
There you go. In the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, I have them on tomorrow. Chris Barber's lawyer is informed that the Crown is now officially seeking an 8-year prison sentence for Mr. Barber's peaceful involvement in the 2022 Freedom Convoy. And it's amazing what all these other sentences that we're going to see later on that we talk about, where people get off, and especially, and here they're going
This man
after
has
Chris
been
Barber
charged. All
and
he's
Tamara
been
Lich.
charged with so far is
Mischief.
Yeah, and mischief's a crime now.
Mischief against Justin Trudeau's Liberal government. You know, honking your horn, obstructing police, basically guilty of parking violations and noise violations.
Well, and he says that he followed legal advice at the time and even spoke to a judge. I think this is a very important case because we need to maintain our right to peaceful protest.
Well, again, we're going to have John Carpay on tomorrow, and he's the Justice Center lawyer is providing lawyers to defend Mr. Barber, so we're going to ask him about that, as well as we're talking about another case that...
I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, so John Carpay has been on the show a few times now, right? So.
And also it's interesting to note that the government hasn't been looked into for their behavior in this at this point. We're
Well,
still
they
waiting
have,
to
but
see
the
some accountability.
NDP and the Liberals have squashed a lot of those investigations in the past. Here's a good one. Consultants have been hired at an undisclosed cost to centralize all public requests for federal documents for one digital ID system. I'm going to love that, eh? Undisclosed cost.
Undisclosed costs, but if anyone who's ever been through the immigration system, the department estimated Canadians currently access more than 60 different systems. So if they actually manage to streamline this, it'd be great, but I don't have any real faith in Canada's tech so far, what we've seen.
How much did they spend on ArriveCam again?
I can't remember. Can you?
63 million or something like that?
Yeah, we'll see how much this costs. I think they should.
Well, this one is undisclosed, so this will probably be the Auditor General can look at this in about 5 years and see how terrible this one turned out.
And I wonder
too.
if we're going to hire another U.S. firm to do it.
And then this is I think the last Holly Dome Black Lock story today. Payouts of $400 million are now commonplace under the Federal Disaster Relief Program, and we've seen a few of these disasters here, and then some of the big ones here. Remember that big flooding here that washed out the bridges here in 2021, the storms? That was a $2.5 billion cost. $1.3 billion for the 2013 floods in Alberta, $978 million for the floods in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and the list goes on and on. $351 million for the wildfires in 2017 in BC.
Yeah, well, average federal payments was $10 million in the 1970s, and now it's an average of $360 million a year by 2010. So it's gone way up.
It's gone way up, right? And then this one is just crazy lunacy. When Pierre Poilievre ran that Canada riding, I think it was like how many was that? 90 or something? 91 candidates, and they've done it to him again. Now there's close to 200 people registered for that by-election in Battle River Crowfoot, and that's the biggest ballot in Canadian history. A lot of these people don't have the same agent, and we're going to play the small clip here, and you can just, if you take a close look at the side, you'll see how many have the same financial agent, because everyone has to have a financial agent, and if you look at it, a lot of these probably aren't even real people. So let's run this clip here. I'm just going to take a couple seconds to get it running here, but
yeah, it's interesting too. The longest ballot committee states that their aims is protesting the electoral system. So I'm not
they
sure
seem
why
to target Pierre Poilievre only.
precisely.
Go ahead and
I'm
run
not
that
sure
clip.
why
Yeah.
they target.
Well, it's pretty obvious, right? There you go. If you take a look at the right-hand side there, look at that the agent, Thomas.
Who's
Thomas,
this man?
Thomas, right?
Yeah. And how much does it
Thomas is
cost
busy.
for each of them?
I don't know the answer to that.
That'd be interesting. How much has Thomas put into this race?
Obviously, that's good enough. You can see you get the point, right? You get the point. It's crazy. And then this one is a sad, sad story, and this is what we're talking about. Here they're going after Tamara Lich and Chris Barber, but here, look at this. Women and girls no longer safe in Ontario. 2 female victims are ordered to rideshare. The rideshare driver followed the victims into a nearby lobby, sexually assaulted both victims, and left the area in his vehicle. And I don't think I can pronounce his name. Mohammed Babakir was 30 years old, was charged with that. So you can't even be safe with a rideshare?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a crime that you knew you were going to get caught for. You know what I mean? Your
Really
details
wild,
are there. It is pretty
absolutely
wild.
wild. And then there's another sad story here out of the United States, but it involves Canadians. The missing 9-year-old girl was found dead in New York. Father charged with murder, and he'd reported her as kidnapped at first. The body of the missing 9-year-old girl has been found in northeastern New York. Melina Fratolin was reported missing late Saturday evening in Lake George, possibly due to abduction, and then found dead in, I can't pronounce these, Ticonindra, around 50 kilometers away on Sunday. This morning, police announced that her father, 45-year-old Luciana Ferlata, has been charged with second-degree murder. Sad.
Devastating. Condolences to the family.
And here we are in our Bill C-18 section, where the government-funded media continues to make fools of themselves. And here you go. Danielle Smith has some comments here in this recent interview on left-leaning media.
Do you believe the institutions of this country, the courts, the media, the public service, do they lean liberal and against conservatives, generally speaking?
Well, I think CBC just demonstrated that in spades. They just had a major broadcaster quit with exactly that same Travis Danraj, I think.
Yeah, that's the allegation.
And he argued that he wasn't allowed to have the full range of perspective being represented. We just had that happen recently with CBC. In fact, I talked to my housing minister about it. One of the reporters was asking him about some of our stats, and we know that she contacted 12 people about our change in policy, didn't quote any of them because they agreed with us, and she went out of province to quote somebody who would criticize us. So I see that over and over and over again. So I think part of the reason why the decline in the mainstream media and the rise of alternative media is because for some reason they decided they didn't want conservative voices and didn't want conservative viewers.
The rise of alternative media.
I guess that'd be us. So Bill C-18 is part of that, and Bill C-18 cripples most of the media in Canada. It takes away half their traffic, half their revenue, and then the government selectively decides who they wish to fund, the ones that are friendly to them. And then obviously the government state funded. Yeah. Government state media definitely has a left-leaning bias, and it's be hard to argue against it. I mean, I would more than willing debate anybody that says that CBC and CTV are not left-leaning. To the point
at least
where,
when you're in the States, you've got Fox and you got NBC, you got both sides. Whereas Canadians here, especially aging Canadians who are watching TV, they're only being presented one version of events. Absolutely true. This is kind of like, this just blew up, and we're in international news. The astronomer CEO, he resigned on last week there after that viral Coldplay concert there. This is one of those stories that's gone wild, but what's the actual story here? Well, I think it was his reaction. It was his reaction, right? I didn't watch the video. If they had just would have stood there and sucked it up, he probably would have got a divorce and all that stuff. Or but he wouldn't have become slowly shuffled away from each other. He wouldn't have become an internet meme, right? Because it's just, we're gonna have a lot more of it in the you got to be serious section. But the timeline. But But it has spawned a viral movement across. Everywhere. What is the viral movement, though? It's just they're just mocking it, right? They're just because he ducked, and then you're going to see some of it later. So stick around right at the end. Stick around right at the end. We'll come back to this very important story, but very important. This is a sort of distraction. This is how you destroy your career. Mess around on your wife in front of the world. Yeah, I heard Chris Martin had a good snapback, but there you go. Here's something in. Florida, Governor DeSantis, I was going to play a clip, but I mean, I've said it before. He said you buy a home, you buy land, then you pay taxes. And in Florida, he wants to get rid of property taxes. Wouldn't that be a cool thing? No property tax. Here in the United States, they're cutting taxes. Us a few times today. They're cutting. We're in the States. Is that wistful thinking? They're cutting taxes. Here in Canada, how do you get more taxes? Yeah, hide them. And BC News, David Eby, and this is the Conservative Party of BC, says buy local, then hands a massive shipbuilding contract to a Chinese state-owned company. BC shipyards get nothing. I actually had I went golfing with a left-leaning journalist, and he was like, well, who are they going to give it to? And I said, well, I mean, it's pretty tough to give it to BC companies when they don't get to employ slave labor. They don't get to use inferior steel. And they have an industrial carbon tax. How do you compete? He's like, well, he makes some good points. Well, obviously, he makes some good points. So we give it to the NDP, which is supposed to be about looking after workers' interests, gives a massive contract that Canada needs right now and British Columbia needs to a
what Mark Carney is the worst threat to Canada is China. That is accused of many times of slave labor, human rights violations, and in the Patello Bridge has used inferior steel, and doesn't have an industrial carbon tax. How is a Canadian company supposed to compete with that?
There's no way to compete, and that's why no one bothered to
So what's the message
together.
then? So what's the message then from the BC
I'm
NDP?
not sure. The BC say one thing, do another.
And Dan Elbus put this out, our MP here, our local MP. He says, if you really want to put Canadian workers first, you'd cancel the $1 billion financing. This is a message to Mark Carney that outsources jobs in steel, aluminum, and shipbuilding to the Chinese-owned shipyard. And he's challenging Mark Carney because there is $1 billion in federal money through the Canadian Infrastructure Bank that's supposed to go to Canadian infrastructure being sent overseas to China, again, when they're supposed to do infrastructure projects with Canadian steel and Canadian aluminum.
And it's interesting, too, the two projects, the LNG projects that were put forward as ones we want to prioritize are both towards our West Coast, favoring trade with the Asian countries. Right. We haven't talked about the other way, favoring trade with the European nations.
Right. Gavin Dew, another local MLA, the EB government has taken a wrecking ball to BC's public finances again. Unprecedented deficits to reach new heights this year. I mean,
well, we reelected them this year, was last year.
Yeah, a lot of that, I think, a lot of that fault goes to John Rustad when Kevin Falcon resigned or kind of killed that party. You know, he handed the ball to John Rustad at the 1 yard line, and I think John Rustad threw it on the ground and said, "I don't need that." And then instead of working with all the candidates,
well, how many people even know that party exists in British Columbia?
Which party is that?
When they switched the name, right?
BC United.
BC United, yeah, that was it.
The funding dried up. That's why they ended up folding that party. But Tamara Taggart, she used to be on, she was one of the hosts, I think it was on CTV. She's now working in private life. But she put this out there. She was one of the advocates for Charlene Porlock to get the medication, and then the NDP were denying it. But Ravi Parmar put out his thing. He's one that there's rumors saying that he wants to run for the NDP leadership, taking over Evie's job. But he put out a tweet there from the very first day of Charlene's family reached out to us. My office and I advocated for her to do all we could. And then Tamara calls him out and says, this has to be one of the slimiest statements I've ever seen. Ravi Parmar not telling the truth. Charlene's mom has the receipts to prove it. Note to Mr. Parmar, lying about your role in advocating for a sick child makes yourself look good is disgusting. And there's a bunch of stuff on Facebook on that you can go find out yourself.
You got to remember, in this day and age, the red receipts are available.
Receipts are there. There you go. And that's a bad look. That whole thing, and I talked to that journalist this weekend too. He's like, I said, that's a bad look. Denying a child, a dying child, medication.
There's not many worse looks.
And you know that 4 of those people in that 50-person committee that denied the medication quit because they overrode the decision. That's a bad look in itself.
Yeah, hoping we get some good looks soon. BC needs a win. Canada needs a win.
Somebody needs a win. We're on to markets here. The markets this morning. How are we doing in the markets? Markets are relatively up. Look at that, Dave. Stock market's up. Everything's still in the all-time high territory, but the markets are up this morning. The Dow's up 234 points. The board is green all over the place. There you go.
That's good.
And Bitcoin continues to be a rock star. Of course, I think it's off a little bit off of its all-time highs, but it's still performing very, very well. Bitcoin around the $117,000 mark. Canadian dollar just hanging in there, waiting for direction to see where it's going to go. Canadian dollar hanging in there at like 73 cents this morning. But then there's a Bitcoin whale just sold 80,000 Bitcoin for $9.6 billion. Wow.
What do you think that indicates?
I think that he's decided to cash some money.
Get some money?
And he bought it all in 2011 for?
I don't know.
$54,000.
There you go.
Not bad profit, right?
Yeah. Do worse.
Not a bad profit. There you go. And then $10 trillion Schwab just announced live on CNBC that they will enable Bitcoin buy and sell. And this is wild. We're going to play that little clip here.
And sign the Genius Bill today into law.
Well, our clients are invested in crypto today. In fact, our clients hold more than 20% of the exchange-traded product crypto in the entire industry. So they're invested. It's still only about $25 billion out of the $10.8 trillion that our clients have. So it's still relatively small, but our clients own a big part of the market. We also anticipate launching Bitcoin and Ether sometime soon so that our clients have access to that. And we think that'll be an acceleration of our growth, because what we hear from many of our clients are that they have 98% of their wealth here at Schwab, and they might hold 1% or 2% at some digital.
Well, there you go. Wind in the sails of the Bitcoin. And oil. Oil is relatively flat this morning. West Texas Intermediate off a quarter, 25 cents. And Western Canadian Select selling at that discount as usual, because we only have really one market to sell it to. Western Canadian Select at 53.70. And the Bank of Canada rate cut is unlikely.
Great.
It's because, you know, like this trade stuff is, I think the Canada really needs that rate cut. Mortgage holders need that rate cut. We talked about it on Friday. We really need a rate cut. But will we get it? It doesn't look good for this next meeting. So
No.
should they do it? I would think so. But hey.
I would hope so. To be continued.
There you go. Lots of earnings coming out this week, though, too. We're expecting a lot from CN Rail, Coca-Cola, GM, Rogers Communications, Tesla, Alphabet, Tech, Loblaws. So there you go. So lots of earnings coming out this week. And that takes us right into the technology and transportation sector. This chart is super, and we're going to leave it on here for a bit because this is super, super interesting. Nope, there you go.
Yeah, it's wild to see how it dwarfs those multinational corporations, NVIDIA. It's NVIDIA now is worth more than, well, basically everybody else, right? Yeah.
And worth more than Meta and Alphabet put together. And look at Tesla. Tesla's way over there on the right there. Tesla's the red one there.
Your beloved Coca-Cola is right there at the very end.
My beloved Coca-Cola. There you go. But here's the interesting thing in this whole thing, and this is something I think people really need to just take a second and ponder. If we think about the Yukon Gold Rush that kind of built Canada, California Gold Rush that kind of built, the U.S. too, NVIDIA in this example would be the sellers of the shovels, the pickaxes and the shovels. They're the supplier. The real money, the real gainers are the ones that discover the gold. These guys are the suppliers of the this AI rush right now. This is the AI rush. NVIDIA, think of it as that way, that they are actually the sellers of the shovels. So
you expect the gold miners to come out in the end.
Yeah, like the leader right now, Jensen Huang of NVIDIA, has said many, many times over, leading in the physical AI world right now is Tesla in so many different ways. But I mean, there's many other ones in here. Like we look at the Meta and Alphabet, both big into AI. And the other thing that's really kind of puzzling, and for Canada's perspective in this, is here's the leading companies. Canada, the Liberal government, and the Canadian government at war with Meta, with Bill C-18. Hate Elon Musk, accuse him of being a Nazi.
Yeah.
So here's the leading tech companies in the world. How many derogatory things have been said about Trump administration. All the money is flowing to the U.S. for AI. And we continue, the only thing we want to really do is regulate AI. But we won't have anything to regulate because it's all going to be outside of Canada.
Well, again, with our current regulation and tax laws, there's just not innovation happening in our country. We're not making the environment very favorable.
And then Elon just opened up that futuristic diner. We've talked about it a few times, but guess who was there working it? We're going to play a small clip here. What's that?
It says some celeb.
Maybe not. Let's play the clip.
The bots.
A brand new diner, here's what it is and how you can go. Their diner blends nostalgic retro Americana with futuristic tech. There is a full drive-in movie theater that serves classic comfort food like burgers, hot dogs, wings, and hand-spun milkshakes, all delivered in Cybertruck style boxes. And if you come in a Tesla, you can order your food straight from your car's screen. The audio from the 45-foot movie screens also syncs directly to your Tesla sound system. Inside, Tesla's humanoid robot Optimus is serving popcorn. And while there are 80 superchargers, you don't even need a Tesla to go. In a world where it's harder than ever to meet new people, this diner creates real serendipity for tech lovers. And you should follow if you want to see more optimistic tech stories.
There you go.
I love the penguin blimp.
Is there one coming to Canada? I doubt it. But Elon Musk said if our retro futuristic diner turns out well, which I think it will, he's going to establish more of these in major cities around the world. as well as a supercharger sites on long distance routes.
It harkens back to like the golden days of the States too, with the drive-in movies.
I love the drive-in.
Yeah.
I used to love A&W. You go there and they put the tray on the window there, and you get that root beer. Everybody stole the root beer mugs. I never did.
I'm too young for that one, but.
Yeah, the drive-in, the old Happy Days. It looks really kind of cool. I'd like to go there.
Yeah, and the automatic syncing is just.
I think they should ban all cars except Teslas there. That'll get everybody happy.
I think you're being a bit of a Tesla elitist.
If a Tesla comes in and it's full, they should tow out the other cars.
All right.
All right.
Jim's opinion.
Netflix uses AI in production for the first time. There you go. People are worried about this. This is part of that whole Hollywood strike that happened a while back. But here you go. Netflix is using AI in its first movie. There you go. And it's the story of survivors battling a toxic snowfall. Well, why not have toxic snowfalls, right? I guess, right?
Yeah.
That'll be the next thing. And
climate problem.
And here's the big one. And this is something, again, Canadians should reflect on this. Norway, ready? $2 trillion wealth fund ran a 12-month AI experiment that gave Claude access, and they've saved so much money. But here, the important thing to recognize there is Norway has a sovereign wealth fund because it's called really the petroleum fund, because they weren't suppressing their oil and gas. They were selling it to whoever would buy it.
Yeah, the citizens are the richest nation per capita.
Over 300,000 per capita. So oil was discovered in that North Sea in '69 and production starting in '71. By 1980, Norway began generating significant surpluses from hydrocarbons, right? So that fund has 19.8 million in the Norwegian, I think it's the kroner, I think they call it. Mm-hmm. And that's about $1.84 trillion. $1.48 trillion. Trillion, yeah. Canada could have that. You know the only province to have a sovereign wealth fund, because Canada sure doesn't have one.
I guess Alberta.
Alberta has a sovereign wealth fund from, guess what? Oil and gas. Guess what?
Baby.
We sell it at a discount because we only have one pipeline really, and that's to the south. And the Western Canadian Select sells at a discount. Imagine if we had the Northern Gateway pipeline and the one that goes to the east, what we could be doing for money and sovereign wealth, and what we could be doing for doctors and healthcare and everything, and universities and all that stuff. Look at the Saudis. Like, it just...
It would be nice to fund without taxing. That's the way we can get a lot more money into Canada.
And AI, again, is going to be the biggest thing that happens in our lifetimes. And here's something that, again, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund has used it. And here's their results that they've had with it. They had a 20% productivity gain, 213,000 hours saved annually. And this is just by using Claude. 100 million in trading cost savings, 95% accuracy in voting decisions, and 49 million transactions optimized globally. There you go.
I like that they named him Claude.
Cloud.
Cloud.
Yeah. Cloud. And this deal was announced a while ago, but I guess it's finally coming into action. Rogers launching new satellite to mobile text messaging trial, and that's with Elon Musk's SpaceX.
It's funny, they don't really mention him as much. They kind of
downplay,
Global
but it says Starlink's low Earth satellites. I mean, I've been using Starlink at home for over a couple of years now. It's awesome, and you can actually you can start seeing some of the cars that actually they're selling it online now. They'll sell you a device you can actually put on your Tesla, or you can put it on any car. I've seen them bolt at the roofs of trucks. You can have internet connectivity from here to Calgary 100% of the time with Starlink. And they have it on planes,
camping, right?
Up to 160 kilometers. Yeah, you can use it anywhere.
Kind of go in the middle of nowhere and still be connected if you have important things going on.
They sell the Starlink Mini on SpaceX website there, or Starlink. And then,
especially Canada is such a big landmass. I find telecommunications service is just patchy. And
then Doug Ford canceled that $100 million deal they did with Starlink during when all this hoopla thing with Elon Musk and Trump and all that stuff. Just the spite their nose to, and it's not good for Ontarians. I could have internet in 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes from when you take it out of the box to having internet.
It's separate the art from the artist sort of logic, right?
It's crazy. It's absolutely madness. Absolutely madness. And if we think there's a lot of people out there, especially the elbows up crowd, that want us to pause on AI. They want us to slow down AI. And here's the reason number one why we don't pause. I'm going to play this clip here.
Unmanned combat vessel JARIUS USVA, also known as ORCA, made its global debut on Tuesday at the ongoing 15th China International Aviation and Aerospace Exhibition, also known as Airshow China, in Zhuhai, a coastal city of South China's Guangdong province. This 58-metre, 500-ton stealth USV boasts a 4,000 nautical mile range and capabilities for long-range strikes, air defence, anti-missile and anti-submarine warfare. With a trimaran hull and hybrid diesel-electric dual-mode propulsion, the Orca can operate independently or in coordination with naval fleets for extended range.
China's not stopping. China's not stopping. There's also in this thread here, there's the dogs, the robotic dogs, the dogs that fire missiles. It's this is all hands on deck, and this is a race that needs to be won. This is no different than the space race that JFK undertook.
Yeah, well, it's like we've invented fire, and then we're saying, oh, I don't really need it.
In our health section here, the Justice Center of Constitutional Freedom, again, they put out a post here and says, like, you think the COVID thing is over? Not so much. The Globe and Mail is still requiring you to have your COVID vaccine. So, I mean, still people pushing this stuff here.
And I think, again, no matter how you feel about the vaccine, it's a question of civil liberty. Should you have the choice of what you put into your body? Regardless of what you think one way or the other, I think the choice is important here. And that leads us right to the end. We've gone quite quick today here. We're just like flying through this stuff. Snappy, snappy, snappy. We're going to get to the Fool of the Day section. And we remember we got to pick a Fool of the Day. But there's a this Coldplay thing that's just going over and over again. Who's his beloved?
There's Justin and Mark Carney.
Is that Justin?
Well, that kind of looks like
Isn't
Justin for sure.
AI Justin? They've kind of made him a bit more twinky.
There you go. And then we got a little clip here to play. This is going on in some of the, you used to have the kiss cam all, like in sporting events, you'd have that kiss cam if you're in the stands. And now they got the Coldplay cam, and so everybody's doing this little mockery thing. Go ahead and play this here. There you go. That's good. It loses a little something when you do it over and over and over again.
Have you ever been caught on a kiss cam?
No.
Me neither.
There you go. You get caught on a Coldplay cam?
No.
Not messing around with somebody else's?
Not at the moment.
No? Well, there you go. And then Penthouse, they kind of have an account similar to the Wendy's account that goes after McDonald's all the time. And they say, don't worry, guys, Coldplay isn't here. So if you're going into the strip club, not to worry. Penthouse Club has you covered.
Come on in, open for business.
And this one here, this is more serious news, but hey, it belongs here. Justin Trudeau sent at the end of his term, he sent nearly $5 million to Mongolia to review and update the country's gender equality strategy in just 1 week for this.
Yeah, you know what? If we were really rich, maybe just throw your money around, but.
Well, or if you want to spend like a drunken sailor.
Yeah.
Go to it. And then this one here, I mean, everybody's experienced this. Why ask me to press 1 for English and then transfer me to someone that barely speaks it?
Well, and I think when you're on the Government of Canada stuff and calling, I always wonder when I speak to these people, like, are you here on some sort of foreign visa? Why would you keep this job where everyone's screaming at you about the CRA stuff? I think the people answering the phone are also a little bit stuck.
And this last one here, if you don't like the F word, you can let go now. But don't forget to like and subscribe and share and help us increase our reach with this show. We do it every Monday morning.
Is that a trigger warning for the next video?
Yeah, it's a trigger warning for the next one. We do it every morning at 9 a.m. weekdays. And Ian's back next week as well. Andrew's done a great job this week as well.
Thank you.
And or last week and this week.
I think this week will be better. I'm getting adjusted.
Yeah, it takes a while. It's actually hard, right? It's not that easy, is it?
I'm usually sleeping at 9 a.m., so it's been a bit of a transitioning to a morning person.
So the Bidens are back, and Hunter has no filters. And
I love Hunter.
You love Hunter?
Yeah.
God help us all. There you go. Let's play this clip.
And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are the fucking criminals? White men in America are 45 more times likely to commit a fucking violent crime than an immigrant. And the media says, well, you got David Axelrod and, Rahm fucking Emanuel. So fucking smart, Rahm Emanuel. He said, we got to understand that these people are really mad. And we got to appeal to these white voters. Rahm, the only people that fucking appealed to those fucking white voters was Joe Biden, 81 years old. And he got 81 million votes, and he did not because he appeased their fucking Trumpian sense, but because he challenged it. And he said, you can be an 81-year-old Catholic from fucking Scranton that doesn't understand it, but still has empathy for transgender people and immigrants. And then nobody said, oh, Joe Biden's going to turn us into a socialist state, no matter how much they said it. But these guys think that we need to run away from all values in order for us to lead. I say, fuck you. How are we getting those people back from fucking El Salvador? Because I'll tell you what, if I became president in 2 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 3 years from now, I would pick up the phone and call the fucking president of El Salvador and say, you either fucking send them back or I'm going to fucking invade. It's a fucking crime what they're doing. He's a fucking dictator thug.
Bukele or Trump?
Both.
I wonder how his sobriety's going.
Or his sanity. I don't think he's selling very much art anymore. He was selling his art for
that's what I mean.
Crazy
it wasn't bad.
prices.
It wasn't bad.
Really?
Yeah.
I think
I think Justin should take full
Crazy Town left, and Hunter is on the crazy train, and maybe he should join Justin Trudeau on vacation somewhere.
We can all go up to cottage country together.
Yeah, let's pick Justin Trudeau as fool of the day for sending him $5 million away on his last thing there, just as another. I think that was another F-bomb that he left, or an FU to Canadians there as he was walking out the door.
Yeah.
Spending all our hard-earned money.
You got to wonder in Mongolia too. This $5 million that goes to update the country's gender equality strategy. How much of that's going to that cause?
Most of this stuff is shown to be in all these things in the U.S. even. A lot of the stuff never ends up in the hands of anybody other than...
They end up in the pockets. Hopefully the pockets...
Filtered through so many different things and bureaucrats that at the end there's a couple crumbs that show up so they can say, oh, see, there's the money. But anyway, we're back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And we do thank you for watching. And we hope you have a great day. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.